Hello,
Hi, I am Victoria.
and I'm Parker,
Okay, this is Parker.
and we are going to talk about some issues that we see going on as Americans and as people who, how should I word this? Basically, we're going to talk about how we, as non traditional people who would discuss this type of stuff, me being white and her being of
Nigerian descent.
Nigerian descent, Um, we're going to talk about how we see the importance in the Black Lives Matter movement. We see how there's definitely racism, no matter what other people try to say, and we see that there's issues with police brutality, and you are going to talk about,
That's, so many things.
yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, I want to start off by saying how I know that I benefit from white privilege, being a white person, no matter what anyone tries to say. I know that I benefit from white privilege, and it is a thing in the United States, and that it doesn't need to be a thing, but it is, and other white people need to see and acknowledge that, and not try and work it to their advantage, but use their white privilege to help other white people see that racism is still a big issue in our country.
So here's the problem I'm seeing. And I think this is the most pervasive and the problem that is most to blame. And this problem is that people simply do not know. And that's the entire sentence. People simply do not know. People on both sides, any angle, simply do not know what's going on. So I want to start by saying, I wanted to start by establishing our backgrounds. Like Parker said, I'm Nigerian, and Parker is obviously white and male. So, growing up in a Nigerian household, I was told consistently that I was African, not black. Don't act black because you're African. I have been chased outside to my car when I was blaring rap music so my parents could remind me that I am not black. I am African. I went to a private school where I was the only black person in my class for years and years and years. In such private school, when we talked about slavery, all my classmates would look at me and say, Victoria, we'd never do anything like that to you. So not only did I think that racism as we knew it was over, I'm not over here making cotton shirts. I'm not over here picking cotton. I'm not sharecropping. I'm not being chased by dogs when I go to the ballots. When I went to the ballot to vote, no one chased me. No one harassed me. So in my opinion, racism was over. Completely over. Not only was racism over, but if there was any remnants of racism left, it was the fault of black people because I am obviously black and I never had any problem with the system. I go to a very highly accredited school. I come from a family where both my parents went to college. All of my aunties and uncles went to college. You know, all of us have, great jobs and great education, yada, yada, yada. So I'm thinking, well, if my family can do it and if I can do it, then everyone else should do it. And being black is not an excuse for these things happening. If my family can avoid getting stopped and frisked, then all families can avoid getting stopped and frisked. If my family can go to a good school, then all families can go to a good school. And being black people are just making excuses for this. And this is how the majority, not, I don't want to say the majority, but this is how a great chunk of people think. And I want to establish and start by saying, I did not consider myself, and I do not consider myself a bad person when I thought these things. However, these things are almost completely wrong. Actually, completely wrong. Okay, so this thing that Parker is talking about called white privilege. Parker and I have come to realize that the system is rigged in such a way
Against
that
black
is
people.
rigged against black people. It's rigged to disenfranchise black people. Unless you are black or unless you are very well immersed in the black community, you do not realize this. You do not realize this for several reasons. One of these is that you're looking for racism to be this big, blatant, blaring neon sign, which it is not. Just because you go by cotton fields and there's not black people working them, just because your friends are not chased to the ballot, just because there are no longer, boycotts in Birmingham, does not mean that racism has been abolished. It does not mean. It just means that racism has become more sneaky and more insidious, but it is very much there
And is very ingrained in
and
the
it is
system.
very ingrained in the system. So white privilege is the thing that white people have the system gives it to them, I would say,
Yes.
and it allows them to not see the problems of people of color. That is what white privilege is.
Yep.
It is not something you ask for. It is not something you work for. It is something that the system gives to you for being white, and you cannot do anything about it. But it's there.
But
And I'll tell you, go ahead.
We, as people who benefit from white privilege, we need to realize that it is a thing, and we need to just realize that it is a thing and help black people and other minorities to, you know what I mean? Like, just help them be granted the same opportunities, and how it's important that we need to somehow change this system to get out of this white privilege system and really even the playing field. Even though, like, I know my father, he's big on anti-affirmative action, but it needs to be there, and it is there to level the playing field.
And here's the thing that most white people will not see. So white privilege for you guys is your everyday life. You can get stopped for a speeding ticket and you'll be on your way in 10 minutes tops. White privilege is the fact that when you apply to a school, there's not some immediate bias by the admissions community because your name sounds specifically or particularly ethnic. Okay, that is one example of white privilege.
Same with jobs.
White privilege is you can go to the Clinique counter in Belk and there are 15 shades for your skin color and there are 2 shades for women of color. And that's something you would not notice because you don't go looking for black foundation if you're white. I'm talking to women here, obviously. Men probably don't even know what I'm talking about. And it's just, oh gosh. You really just would not understand unless you are a person of color. And that's why I think it's really important that Parker and I are speaking, because we are also people who do not fully understand.
Yes.
And so we're speaking to our crowd of people like us who do not understand or do not fully understand that it exists, that it's pervasive.
We'll never experience it.
And we'll never experience it. And we'll never experience it. Yeah.
Never.
White privilege is you can go into a store and you're not going to be followed around. People are not going to look at you suspiciously. You can walk into an elevator and no one's clutching their purses. When people drive through predominantly white neighborhoods, no one locks the doors. This is just your normal life. And you would not know any different unless you have entrenched yourself in the black community, or you are black or another person of color who is discriminated against in a similar way, such as Hispanic people.
And see, for me, I used to think that growing up, I knew that people were prejudiced against one another. Like I would see some white people be like, oh, look at that. You know what word I'm talking about. And I thought that it was just on a personal level.
Yes.
But then,
yes,
after the Trayvon Martin situation, whenever I saw George Zimmerman get away with murdering a black man, I knew the system was just flawed.
Yes, you need to. One thing that's really important to realize is that if you're looking for racism on a personal level and you are in a community of people who are not racist and you are not racist yourself, you will not see it. Like, I don't know if it's appropriate to say just take our word for it, but it's sort of like at the beginning you sort of just have to take the word because you literally cannot see it at all. You literally cannot see it at all. Like, I have friends who are friends with me, who are friends with other black people, and who think that because they're friends with me and because they're friends with other black people and because I'm allowed into their households and because I go to the same school as them, that racism is no longer a thing, because they're looking for people to say, oh, Victoria can't do so and so and so because she's black. People don't normally just say that. Well, we are in the South, but people don't normally just say that. There's a system. That's the biggest thing we're trying to impound here, is that it's not racism on a level. It's not I don't use the N-word. It's not I hire black people. It's not, well, my best friend is black, or, well, my cousin is black. Well, yada, yada, yada. System. There is a system built to disenfranchise black people. There is a system which takes advantage of black pop culture while disenfranchising people that created it. There's a system that lets it so that black people get disproportionately jailed, disproportionately stopped and frisked. There's a system that makes it just so happen that the most underfunded school districts and the school districts are predominantly black, and the ones that have the least experienced teachers are predominantly black. And you will literally not see this system if you are black, unless you open up your eyes. it is so sneaky. I don't know any word other than sneaky. You do not see it to the extent that someone who has very dark skin like me, who society perceives as black, can be blind to this for the better part of what I would say 16 to 17 years. If I did not see it and I'm black, there is no way that a regular white person would see it. There's simply no
And
way.
see, for me, it was the Trayvon Martin case that really, I was like, wow, that white man got away with murder. Whenever I know for a fact, if you want to argue with me, you're not going to get a response, because you know that had it been the other way around, Trayvon's behind would have been in jail.
And
Yeah.
it's things like that. It's things where it's not a clear cut type of thing. It's okay, well, if he had been white, would this have happened to him? If this had happened to a white person, would social media respond in this type of way? If he had been white, would he be portrayed on the news differently? It's sometimes it's not presence of the thing, but a lack of presence of something else. I don't
And
know if that makes sense.
whenever you mention the news, you see on social media all the time, but it's just not resonating with certain people. Whenever a white person goes and it's always the white people who are shooting up schools. It's white people who are shooting up churches. They're
It's
described
the
as lone
difference
wolf.
between someone being described as a thug or a
Yeah,
gangster
or
or
a
drug
lone
rat
wolf
or being described as a lone wolf
from a
who
nice
did not get
family,
the mental care
mental
he
care.
needed. That's
But
it's
seriously,
subtle differences like that. It's the difference between a gorilla being shot and my Facebook page being lit up with people who are all pro animal, which I think is definitely necessary, definitely a good thing, and these two murders going on and me having to tell some of my non-black friends that they even happened in the first place. But everyone knew about the gorilla. It's literally small things like this that you will not see. You will not see if you're not looking for it.
it's a
You won't see
problem.
it.
And it's a problem whenever, this is mainly my fellow white people, whenever it's a problem whenever you care more about your dog than you care about a black man getting shot.
But and so we were just having a discussion actually with two of our friends.
Mm-hmm.
And so the thing with the insidious thing about this ignorance, the insidious thing about this racism is that it is more common for someone to recognize the the depravity in shooting a dog than it is in shooting a black person, because they honestly truly believe that this happens on a consistent enough basis that it should not be addressed, or that this was the black person's fault, or yada 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 yada. I want to impound that it isn't you're the problem with people looking for racists is that they look for these people who are flying Confederate flags from their cars. They're looking for these people who
They're looking
use
for
the N word
Klansmen.
like they use the word human. They're looking for Klansmen. Like, you're not looking for the little tiny bits and pieces. That's the main issue here.
And
You're
you
not
really don't see how the whole system is pro-white and anti-minority. We're talking about
exactly.
black in this case, but really anti-minority just in general.
Racism, it's not horrendous people that we're targeting here. It's not horrendous people who allow these atrocities to go on. I would say that most people are not horrendous people who know the system is rigged and who purposely hate black people and just sit by and watch these things happening. It's literally people who had no idea that these things happen on a daily basis, who just had no idea. I come from a family where people had no idea. Parker comes from a family where people
People
had
no
no
idea.
idea. And I would say that people in my family are great people. I'm biased, but you know, I would say that most of my friends are great people, but I would also say that most of my friends are not in tears over the two crimes that happened in the past 2 days. Those same great people. Ignorance is the great blindfolder.
And it's a
It
problem
really
whenever
is.
people cry more about a football game than they cry about hearing two black men getting killed.
But I want to stress that it's not the problem with the people crying more over the football game. It's the problem with the system
The
that tells
system
them that a football game
is more
is more
important than
important
a
than
black
black
life.
people dying. So, do you see what I'm saying here? It's the whole system is evolved to teach and condition people to feel that the problems of black people were self-created, and then every other problem should be studied from analytical angles to figure out how it's supposed to be solved. It's a problem that tells people, oh, he was resisting or yada, yada, yada. There's a problem when I go on my Facebook page and I see a slew of posts trying to piece together by some kind of imperfect and disjointed logic how somebody deserved to die when there is video evidence that so and so person did not deserve to die. I feel like we have lost our sensitivity to the word death. Because
Yes.
we're not talking about some people out here got their toe cut off. We're not talking about some people out here were held down and brutally pierced in their ear. We're talking about someone's cells are no longer alive. Like their essence is gone. Like you will never see them again. They will never speak again. They will never breathe. They will never cry. They will never laugh again.
Their
Like
families will never see them
their
again.
families will never see them again. Their communities will never see them again.
Their
All the
kids will grow
contributions
up
they could have
without a father
contributed to
or
the
a
world
mother.
are gone. Like, I don't know. I feel like I shouldn't have to explain what death means to an educated community. I feel like I shouldn't have to explain what death means
Well,
to any sort of community.
obviously someone needs explaining to because people do not care and they need to care.
I don't know if we've just become so desensitized that it's like,
I
oh,
think
a black
that
person
in general,
died, and it's like, oh, okay, well.
it's sad whenever you go on social media and you're like, wow, another black person was shot.
It's sad
It's
when
just
you can't even remember
another,
all
it's
the
like,
names because there's so many.
there's so many names.
So I just want to impound that this stuff is happening and that you will not see it. You just have to talk
Open
to
your
people
eyes
of
to
color,
it.
talk to your black friends, and you will see that this stuff is happening. The system is gamed in such a way that you are not supposed to see it, that you don't see it at all.
And my fellow white people, please, please, please open up your eyes and see that we are benefiting from what is called white
Here are
privilege.
some examples you can see. Me and insert friend here, insert one of my white or non-black friends, are going through a neighborhood and she locks all the doors and she says, this is a sketchy neighborhood. When she says sketchy, she means this is a neighborhood inhabited mostly by low-income black people. How is she going to see that? I didn't see that until recently. I was like, wow, how come it's that all these sketchy neighborhoods tend to have one particular premise? If we're driving through a neighborhood inhabited by mostly low-income white people, the doors do not get locked. Why is it that I can go on Instagram and see 6 white sorority sisters caption their picture "squad rolls deep," and then I go to the cafeteria the next day and they're like, wow, did you see that black guy talk to me last night? Why is it that I can make an Instagram picture with the caption "squad roll deep," which comes from black culture, and I spent 2/3 of my life, more than 2/3, like 7/8 of my life saying I'm not black, I'm African, and I did that. So I mean, it's stealing culture away from people and disenfranchising them. It's telling people who the system rigs to be kept down that they should do something about it. It's telling people that laws have changed. It's telling them they shouldn't worry about slavery. It's telling them they shouldn't get mad. It's things like you go into the workplace and you can't wear your natural hair because it's seen as unkempt. It's things like you tell your friend as a compliment that they're talking white. For the majority of my life, I viewed talking white as an accomplishment. I talk white, I suppose. So, I mean, it's me
Did
going
you
up to a
name
counter and someone goes, oh, where are you from? You have an accent. I don't think I have an accent, but I'm not going to go there.
it's someone with a black name being put on the bottom of a list, even though they might be way more qualified than someone with the white name?
It's someone coming up to me and going, oh, you go to college? Yes, I go to college, and I have a 4.0 GPA. Thank you very much. So it's things like that. It's little things. Those are the only things I can say that someone would really see. But honestly, once you open up your mind, once you accept that there may be something you're not seeing, you will start to see it everywhere. You really will start to see it everywhere. You see it when you lock the doors, when you see a black person. You see it when you clutch your purse tighter. You see it when you have to differentiate which race the guy that tried to hook up with you last night was in the conversation, because it's different if a guy tried to hook up with you versus if a black guy tried to hook up with you last night. It is little tiny things like that. It's blasting rap music and then asking why can't they just talk right in their interview? Like there's not a socio-dialect associated with being African American that follows its own linguistic rules. I'm not here to talk about linguistics. So I've got a little list. Go
I have
ahead.
another one.
Go ahead.
People who love to blast rap music and all that kind of stuff, but then whenever you're riding by a house and there's black people on there, you call them porch monkeys. Seriously? Like, it just
It's
makes
things
me
like
so
that.
upset that that type of stuff happens in this country, in other places, but we're really talking about America right now. That happens, and it's 2016, and some people really do think that racism is not a thing, and that is incorrect.
It's me knowing that I can go to some of my best friends' houses and knowing that I'm the only black friend they have who is welcomely accepted into their houses. That if it was another black friend, especially if they were male, they would not have the same reception as Victoria gets, because Victoria's family is African, because Victoria talks white, because Victoria goes to college, because Victoria does so many things that cancel out her skin tone, apparently. So, anyways, cancel. So I talked about how ignorance blindfolds us all. So okay, so you want to talk about police brutality a little bit?
Yes.
Okay, so here's a problem in the culture of America is that people either fear or hate or think most black people are criminals or yada 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 yada, and they think this without consciously thinking it. For example, I'm going to give an example of something that I thought without consciously thinking it. So, so I help Hispanic immigrants do their taxes. So I realized, despite growing up in a bilingual family, despite growing up in a household where my grandma does not speak English, that somehow I think that people who do not speak English are less smart than people who do speak English. Despite being bilingual myself, I thought this. And I caught myself in this because I was talking to a man and he started speaking Spanish and I was like, wow, I didn't know he was smart. And I was like, wow, that's coming from me, who is African. So if I can be that biased without thinking about it, then imagine people who didn't grow up in bilingual households. Imagine people who grew up with rich parents, or whatever variables you want to change here. So the problem is that a cop will see a black person and think that they are doing something wrong
Automatically racially
automatically just
profile.
because they are black. And this cop is not thinking they are doing something wrong. They literally do think that, wow, the probability of this person being a criminal is higher because they're black. I should take exaggerated action.
And then for us, let's just pause and say we understand this is not all police.
Oh yes, no. We need to
We
take a
do
long
respect,
pause for
yes,
this. I am very much pro police.
and thankful for we're thankful for the people who put on their uniforms and go out and serve the
Extremely
community
thankful
and
because
protect
I want
us.
to say that most of us do not have the gall to do
I
what
couldn't.
most police officers do on a day in, day out basis. I
Nope.
surely do not. I
Nope.
scream when I see a cockroach. So I know for a fact that some of these people are just the most amazing people. I would say most of them even. I'm even going to take a gamble and say most police officers are amazing people who truly want to serve the community, who truly have a very stringent sense of right and wrong. However,
We
when you
are
have a
anti, we
system,
are pro police, pro black, but we are anti police brutality.
so something for all the people on my Facebook feed who have been going off for 2 days about how, I don't
I can't
understand
even
why
I
there's
can't
such a
even get on
slew of
Facebook.
hatred against police officers and yada yada. We're dehumanizing police officers and yada yada. I completely agree. I completely agree that anyone you see who, in light of anger towards their race being treated unfairly, decides they should turn that anger to people who do not deserve it, people that serve them day in, day out, I honestly think they should be chastised. However, my problem lies in the fact that you are more worried about Facebook threats toward police officers than you are that two black people were
Get
killed
killed.
in cold blood 2 days
Killed.
before.
And
Again,
then,
pro police, pro black, anti police brutality.
yep. And my thing is, I think that we should be just as outraged that 5 cops got killed in Dallas
I definitely think so.
as we should about a black man in Louisiana and a black man in Minnesota getting murdered.
And the
by
only reason it
police.
appears that we're more outraged is because society is less outraged.
Yes, yes. And it's important. I don't think that we should be. I think that we should be equally outraged, but even though, as she just said, society is more outraged over the police, or for the most part, instead of the black man or the black men who got killed.
I want to say that this should go without
Because
saying.
they were being black.
Because they're being
or because
black.
they not being black. They were.
Because
they
were
are
black.
Yes. Sorry.
I think this should go without saying, even though it obviously needs to be said. I just want you to think for a second. The black man you see on the side of the road is probably not a criminal. I don't like. I just feel like some people just needed to hear that. He's probably not a criminal. He probably did not just steal something. He probably is not out to steal your wife. He probably isn't. I know people are like, well, duh, Victoria, we know that, but you don't act like you know that. You know, when I'm in the car with you and you lock your car door because we're driving down Oakland, I'm not sure the extent to which you know that. I'm really not sure the extent to which you know that. When you say, "Oh, Victoria is not into ghetto stuff. She's different." What are you really saying about me? I'm your kind of black? I'm a lighter shade of black? Like I said earlier, my actions cancel out my skin color. Why do my skin color and my actions have to be in opposition?
It's sad. It is sad.
Why does this skin oppose my GPA? Why does this skin oppose going to one of the most highly accredited institutions of education in my state? Why are you surprised when I went to college? You might not even be thinking these things, but the questions you ask tell me you think these things. So these cops are out here and they fear black men. They honest to God think this black man they're killing or dehumanizing or whatever they're doing is out to rape or rob or steal or maim or kill. They honestly think that. So I want people to attack the thought. Attack the thought before we attack the people. There's a problem, perhaps with the person, probably, but there's a problem that someone sees black and thinks fear. That's the issue. Or sees black and thinks edgy, or sees black and thinks interest. You know, like I want people to view black people as people before they view them as black. As people before black. Everyone should be viewed as person before black. I was telling my friend Jessica, love is the great equalizer. This is a very sappy day for me. And I was saying that the problem with people is that they view all these labels before they view people. The person who shot up that club in Orlando saw gay before he saw people. These two black men were killed because the officers saw black and thought fear before they saw person and thought respect. That is the biggest issue.
Obviously, they have no respect for the person.
But we're not going to go there. Attack the thought.
We are going to go there.
Okay, we're going to go there.
You do not hold down. I think a vast majority have seen at least one of the videos.
The ones who cared to watch.
The ones who cared to watch.
The one who knew. The ones who knew. The ones who knew and cared. There's a difference.
Thank God for phone cameras, or otherwise we would have been hearing a completely different story. Do you agree?
I think we're still hearing a completely different story because I go down my timeline and I hear, well, you don't really know the circumstances of yada 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 yada.
You can look at the video. He shouldn't have been resisting
and get. And
his hands were bound and he was shot 4 times.
I mean,
4 times.
If you have to justify your eyes out of seeing what they're seeing, if you have to justify your ears out of hearing what they're hearing, perhaps there's a logic problem there.
Closing the door so you have more progress.
Thank you. Perhaps there's a problem in logic there. If you have to tell your senses to... I mean, I understand you cannot believe everything the media says. Okay, but I want you to understand that this happens literally all... Why are there a list of black men who have died? Like, why is there a list? Women. So even, let's say you take problem with so-and-so case, and you're like, we don't know the facts of so-and-so case. Okay, whatever. I still want you to explain to me how this happens once every 28 hours. I still want that explanation. If you have a problem with this video, explain the system. Explain the system. I don't have a problem with people taking problems with these videos. I have a problem with people taking problems with the videos and then ignoring the system. I have a problem with people saying, you can't see his hands in this video, and what about the other 9 videos? What about the ones that don't get... How come you're not up in arms every day, every 28 hours, talking about, we don't know the case, we don't know the case? Why is it only the ones that make it to CNN that you don't know the case about?
Let me pull out my phone. I have a good visual. His hands.
Look.
He was not fighting.
Look, it doesn't matter. All I'm saying is if you have to talk your senses out of sensing...
If you have to talk yourself into it, there's something wrong with you.
If you have to think about why... If you have to... if you have to mine for a reason why a black person was killed for no reason, if you have to take out your tools and mine for a reason, there's probably a problem. There's probably a problem. I think that people who are killed should not have to be mined reasons for why they were killed. I would still take a problem if you were shot once. I would take a problem if these people were amputated. I would take a problem. But killed
4 times. Or shot 4 times.
I just want
and
you to
killed.
think about all the crimes people do that they don't get killed for. But whenever they're black, it's like, oh, well, I was telling mom the other day, black plus crime equals death. Or black plus lack of crime equals death.
I know it's Bagley. Hand 1. Restrained.
Parker.
Hand 2. Restrained. You hear the video. You hear screaming and 4 shots. 4.
All I'm asking,
I wonder if the police are going to get in trouble. These racist policemen are going to get in trouble. These brutal policemen are going to get in trouble.
I just want people to ask, if the person was white, would you still be looking for a reason
No,
why they should have gotten shot? That's all I want. That's all I want you to ask yourself, because I honestly, I was one of the people who, if they were black, was like, oh, they were probably doing something wrong. That was me, and I am black. That's why I think it's really important that I'm making this video, that if someone who is black can say that I did not defend black rights, then I really just want you to understand the degree to which ignorance blinds people. That's what I think. Talk about fear, talk about...
And I think
Wait.
we need to talk about the importance of the Black Lives Matter movement.
Go ahead.
My fellow white people, just because it is Black Lives Matter does not mean that white lives don't matter.
And what I'd like to ask people is, if you feel jealous or if you feel threatened by the hashtag Black Lives Matter,
you are the problem.
I want you to really do some introspection, because
yes.
Why do you feel threatened by people saying Black Lives Matter? Obviously, we have all been taught that all lives matter, especially here in the South where we are in the Bible Belt. The Bible Belt. I was taught all my life that all lives matter. So why are you wait. I'm going on my mom now. Okay, I'm channeling Ada right now. Do you truly think that the majority of black people are so dumb that they do not know that all lives matter? Is that not a racist thought? Do you truly think that we meant only Black Lives Matter? Do you truly think all of us, the whole 13% of the US, truly meant only Black Lives Matter? Is that not a racist thought? Do you think we are that dumb? Do you think we're literally that dumb? Obviously, all lives matter. Obviously, all lives matter. Black lives are treated in such a way that it is not apparent that they matter. That is what Black Lives Matter is about. If you feel threatened because someone says Black Lives Matter, it is because you are in opposition. That's literally it. If someone said, if Parker said to me, blue shirts matter, and I got mad, it means that I don't like blue.
Yeah.
You can see that. But when I say Black Lives Matter and Parker gets offended, you're thinking, oh, he's being analytical here. What does that even mean? But, okay.
Yeah.
Well, literally, what does that even mean? Like, you literally see that it makes no sense in all these other scenarios. If I said 17 magazine matters and Parker gets mad, you're like, he probably doesn't like 17 magazine.
Yeah.
But when someone says Black Lives Matter and someone gets mad, no one thinks, why are you mad that black people said Black Lives Matter?
Yeah.
I'm right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Oh, I was just going to add on to all that. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, it really doesn't. And it's saddening.
The thing with ignorance is that things don't have to make sense when you're ignorant. I told Parker, we were talking yesterday, and he was talking about how we were debating whether or not racism makes someone a bad person. And I said, I would wager that all those people in the 1800s were not bad people. What I do think is that they thought that black people were below them and not people. Which is quite a bad thought that leads to many bad things. That's what I'm saying. That, like, you are looking for racism to accompany bad people, and it doesn't. Racism accompanies good people. That's where the entire issue lies. Because when people are defending cops, as they rightfully should, and saying that not all cops are bad people, okay, I'm not talking about bad people. I'm talking about racist cops. I'm talking about the fact that racism does not accompany bad. Racism is bad. I know lots of good people who are racist.
Oh.
I know lots of bad people who are not racist. I mean, like I said, I'm stepping out on a limb here, but I think many of my friends' houses, I don't think I would be as welcome if I wasn't African and my name wasn't unpronounceable.
And my thing is, which is what I basically I see a lot. Yeah, we're outside and it's hot. That's why we're kind of looking bad. But anyways, that's not what's important. Which I've seen this all over social media, and I agree 100% with it. If you are not a part of the solution, you're part of the problem.
And don't get offended when we tell you that you're part of the problem. We understand that you don't know you're part of the problem.
Recognize you're part of the problem.
I'm not saying you're an evil person because you're part of the problem. You're probably a fine person who is still a part of the problem. Why is it that you can be best friends with me, or best friends with insert black person here, or be family with insert black person here, and you have not said one single thing about any of these murders? Murders. That you're friends with them. But you didn't know they were going on. But yada 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 yada. See, do you see what I'm talking about here? Racism, and stop looking for unequivocally, stop looking for Hitler type people when you're looking for racism. I want you to look for it in the woodworks, because that's where it is. And that's the most insidious place it can be.
And
it's in the woodwork.
Systematic racism.
And systematic racism. Okay, then I wanted to talk, and don't let me think, I do not want y'all to think that we think that racism just exists in the white community, because there's definitely racism in the black community. There's definitely racism in every community. There definitely is, and I think that should be addressed, because somebody is going to come up in these comments and say, well, said black person said he doesn't like Cindy because I believe that. Right now, we're talking about black issues. This also goes with Black Lives Matter. Just because we're talking about black issues does not mean there's not issues within the black community. Because I can make a whole separate video on that. You know? And I really want black people to understand here. First, another thing I think we should say is violence breeds violence. So taking this anger that we justifiably feel after being disenfranchised for centuries and channeling it by shooting cops and yada 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 and doing all these crazy things is not going to fix anything, because violence breeds violence. I am a strong proponent of that statement. So I understand the anger is horrendous. I understand what I'm trying to understand. I don't want to say I understand, because in my family, I don't have to understand. But I can see that you have felt oppressed for so long. I get that. But taking it out in these disastrous ways is not going to help anything. On the flip side of that, these white people who are like, why are black people so angry? Because we have literally been disenfranchised for hundreds of years. This
country was built on the backs
because
of
the system still disenfranchises us. So I don't want to hear any of this, well, I'm sorry, Victoria, about that, but we wouldn't do that to you. No, we are angry, and we are justifiably angry, and you belittling our anger is yet another secretly racist thought. Why is it that black anger cannot be expressed, but every other racist anger can be expressed? Why is it that when black people are angry, it's always unjustified? Do you think we are stupid enough to always have unjustified anger? That is a racist thought.
Yep.
It's
completely justified.
That's a racist thought.
It's wrong, and it's shameful that people are proud to come from slave-owning families and all that kind of stuff. It's shameful. And it's sad, and it's just sad that people... This is back to what I was saying earlier. It's sad that people care more about their perception and not being racist than they
care about actually not acting racist.
They're they go out of their way to not be racist, or not be racist whenever it is being racist. Sorry, I'm getting up in the camera, but it's just we're both trying to be very...
Anyone who is more than an acquaintance with Parker and I know that we are not normally in this civil. Anyone who follows me on Snapchat knows I am crazy, and so is Parker. as crazy as I am. So this is us really trying to be civil and remember that we have to get employed someday, because left up to our own devices, I don't know if this video would be appropriate for all audiences. Let's just say it like that. But it's just
important that people of everything, of every color and all that,
I just want you
to
believe that when people say they're being disenfranchised, I really just don't want you to dismiss them. Really hear what they have to say. Recognize that you may be part of a problem that you didn't even know existed.
I was part of the problem.
I want you to recognize that it's possible to be a part of a problem that you didn't even know existed. And don't be offended when someone tells you you're part of a problem you didn't know existed. Why are you being offended? Unless you knew the problem existed and you did nothing about it. Please don't. Stop with this all lives matter. Stop with this, why are black people getting so angry? Stop with this, but I have a black best friend. Like, stop. Just stop. Just stop. Just listen. I want you to listen and stop. Stop and listen. It's a 2-year-old principle. You talk to a toddler like that. Stop and listen. And everything is going to be okay. Everything's going to be all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Black people, in your anger, please do not chase away your allies. Please, we cannot afford to chase away allies in our justified anger. We can't afford it, though. We just cannot afford it. We cannot afford it. Understand that people are so ignorant that they literally just don't know what you're going through. Please do not get mad at the ignorance, because that's not going to fix anything. That's not going to fix anything. Blowing up on your friend who accidentally made a racist comment is not going to fix what telling them why it was racist, how that hurts you, and how they didn't even think about letting it slip out of their mouth is going to fix. I promise that's a much better approach. I promise that looting and rioting, I understand the anger is past capacity. I understand it. We are overflowing in anger and in sadness, and we see our brothers and sisters get killed on the side of the streets indiscriminately, in cold blood, with video evidence, and there's no type of retribution.
And my fellow white people, please listen and understand. They have the right to be angry. Black people have the right to be angry. More than enough.
More than enough. And that you won't understand the anger.
Please,
that's okay.
My fellow white people,
listen
open
anyways.
up your eyes. Realize that these are real issues.
Right.
They're real issues.
They're
Please.
Real issues. We are not just being angry for no reason. We're not out here in these streets protesting because of some, whatever, crummy video. Like, we like,
countless black people have been
you
killed
don't even know
for
the
being
extent
black.
To which. Ask your black friends. Ask them what they have to go through that they don't tell you, because you won't understand. Ask them. Ask your other friends of color that aren't just black. It's pervasive. It's pervasive.
Thank the Lord that
you were born white, because it really is a blessing these days. It really is a blessing.
Thank the Lord for opening up my eyes, and please, this is to my fellow white people, please understand that people of color, black people, go through this kind of stuff, and it is real. It's not just what you see on the news. It's not just what you see on the news.
It's deeper than that.
Please, watch what you say around people. It might not even... Just before you think. I
really think people should just understand and be accepting of their ignorance. Accept that you don't understand. That's where it starts. Accept you do not understand. Parker does not understand. I do not understand. Recently, I went to a family friend's party. She got her PhD. 3 of them got their PhD in 1 month. That is, like... I do not even pretend to understand the black struggle, because I was not raised in it. I didn't go to barbecues. That sounds quite stereotypical, but I didn't go through any of this stuff. I've never seen my dad stop and frisk. People don't follow my dad around the store. Like, this does not happen to me. I told my mom yesterday, the accent is like a bulletproof vest. It really is. So, I want you to accept that you don't understand and stand with your friends who do understand. Stand there and say that I know I don't understand. I recognize that I am privileged in whatever way I am privileged, and I am here to stand with you and accept that I'm privileged and work so that this privilege does not harm you anymore.
Let's use our privilege to help these people. Help change the system. Help change the people who are getting murdered, and their murderers are getting away with it. Just because they're black.
And then the last thing I want to say, are you done? pretty much.
I'm never gonna be done, but yeah.
We're never going to be done. But one thing, I
Please.
really just want to take these last few minutes to address the African community. So if you're not African,
I'm-
feel free to go. If you want to hear some nonsense, feel free to stay. Like I said, I was raised in such a way that I was told many times through my life that I am not black, I am African. I should take pride in being African and not black. La 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 la. I want to know how people whose countries commit atrocity after atrocity after atrocity on a second by second basis, 70, 60, 80 years after colonialism, can come to this country and dare tell black people who still live in a system like designed against them that they should not be reeling from the effects of slavery and disenfranchisement that has lasted for centuries. I want you to go tell me how, if Nigerians have not fixed Nigeria, if Ghanaians have not fixed Ghana, if Togans have not fixed Togo, if people from Chad have not fixed Chad, if South Africans haven't fixed South Africa, how do you expect Black Americans who have been in this system which is designed against them that they should have fixed it by now? I don't understand how. I want you to tell me, do not act like the second people hear your accent, you're on a different plane than them, because I have been living in a different plane since the day I was born. That unpronounceable name, it gives you a lot of opportunities. Let me tell you something, okay? I am so tired of these Nigerians and all these other Africans. I'm tired of Egyptians. I'm tired of people from Cameroon. I'm tired of Kenyans. I'm tired of Ugandans coming here and succeeding off of the oppression of black people, and then turning around and saying black people had the same opportunities. Really? Did they really have the same opportunity as you, Ugo? Did they? Did they really have the same opportunities as you? Because last time I checked, your kid had a PhD, and that is not that. I just don't even know what to say. I just don't even know what to say. Half of y'all can barely speak English, right? And you come here and make fun of the way they speak English. Half of y'all came from a village where you barely had anything to eat, and you come here and tell people in the same situation that they're somehow less than you because you come from a different continent? Because you know your roots? Try again. Please try again. I have never heard of an Ikenna getting stopped and frisked. I have never heard of one. I have never heard of an Obinna getting stopped and frisked. Try again. You know you are living in that privilege. I am so tired of the derogatory slurs toward black people. If you refuse to partake in their oppression, don't further it. They don't need that. They have enough on their plate without us, who should be their allies, who share the same skin as they do, helping them. If we don't want to help, I just don't even know what to say. I'm so tired of my brothers and sisters being told they are African before they are black. I am so tired of it. I'm so tired. Just because you have so college degrees, just because you speak a different language, does not mean you are somehow better than these black people who are here. I don't know where that system of self-righteousness came from, but y'all need to stop. Y'all need to stop. We, as a community, need to stop. We need to stop telling our kids that they can't dress black, whatever that means. I just don't understand. I just don't understand. You wear that accent as if it's a bulletproof vest. You wear it as if it's a bulletproof vest, and then you get mad and you ignore when other people are getting shocked without it. I am so sick of it. If you and your people from your country and your continent cannot fix their issues 60 to 70 years after, you're still blaming the British, you're still blaming the French, you're still blaming the Portuguese. Do not come here and tell me. Do not come here and tell me that these people who have been reeling from disenfranchisement at every corner and turn are somehow as opportune as you are. Don't do it. 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 Don't go there. Don't go there. Don't act like we are not overrepresented at the Ivy League schools. Why is that? Are we somehow smarter? Say it to my face. That's it. That's all I have to say.
Well, last thing, just white people, my fellow white people, please understand and remember to constantly check your privilege. And remember, we are privileged and we need to help.
Coming from two people of privilege, telling the privileged to check their privilege.
Please.
Please.
I always have to catch myself doing it.
Please.
And please help and implore you. Please start supporting the Black Lives Matter movement. basically, that's, I guess, what we're just gonna. It's
And I
important. And
honestly
rest in
think
peace
it's
to
in the
all these
best
people.
rest in peace to
Rest
all
in
people.
peace.
And the cops in Dallas.
Yes.
And the cops in
Yes.
Dallas. I honestly think it is in all of our best interest to start treating the people around us as if they're people.
Yep.
You lose out on so much cultural competence and interpersonal competence. You lose out on part of your humanity when you don't see a person as a person. When you see a person as black first,
And be
or as
sure.
Mexican first, or as Chinese first, or as gay first, or as Muslim first, or as whatever first. You really do lose a piece of yourself in the process.
And be sure. We can't just talk all this and just not take any action. Please talk to other people. Spread awareness that there is white privilege. There is.
African privilege.
And please, please, please tell people and check their privilege and recognize that
Just
there is a
because
system and the whole
someone is
system
in
is
a similar
racist.
environment to you does not mean they are just as
Yes,
opportune as you are.
yes.
It really does not. Just ask. Just listen and ask and talk to people and accept that you may be part of a problem that you didn't even know existed. You
And then
may be part of a problem you had no idea even existed. Because I was.
Sign petitions. Talk to government people that this system needs to be changed. It does. Black people are getting killed, and their killers are not going to jail.
Amongst several other injustices.
Yes. And then, more on white privilege, you have a white person, Dylan Roof, coming, this is right in our backyard, basically, coming into a black church, killing 9 black people, and then he's getting a bulletproof vest and police escorts, and there's rumors that he went to Burger King. I don't know if all that's true, but I wouldn't be surprised. And that's because he was white.
I wouldn't put it past.
Had he been black and it was a white church, he would have been killed. Black on black crime, the black killers the black
thing,
person.
Go ahead.
The bad person gets justice served. White on white crime, same thing. Black on white crime, same thing. But white on black crime, not with the way this system is set
And I want people who are diverting this issue to something else. Like, if you see someone get killed in cold blood and your first response is, what about black on black crime? Do you understand the extent to which you just circumvented the entire issue? And I am not for calling people racist. But like I said, is that not a racist thought? If your first thought is, after seeing the video, if your first thought isn't pity, if your first thought is, maybe he did something wrong, or I want the full story. I want the full story too. I'm just saying that this happens once every 28 hours. I also want the full story.
Sad. It is sad.
I also want the full story. But you cannot convince me just because someone was named Daquan and they have similar qualifications as Parker that one of them deserves their application looked at quicker. Are you going to tell me that one of them is automatically less smart? Because that, again, is, my friends, a racist thought.
Go farther. He could have been more qualified than me, and guess who's going to get put on top of the list?
If people just thought, like, if they honestly just thought, like, do you honestly believe that black people are in these situations of getting shot more often by coincidence? Like, do you honestly believe
it's a problem? And it's sad. And
I just don't understand. Especially
white people, we need to open up our
especially
eyes.
Us young people who love us some black culture. We love saying on fleek. Don't we? We love saying your face is beat. We love saying squad. We love saying throwing shade. Where did that all come from? And the young people just take everything out of black culture and then turn a blind eye. Most of us, including myself, including Parker. So
Please, just like we were saying, check your privilege. Like we both know that we're privileged, and we really need to try and go out of our way to help. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's a moral imperative.
Yes,
it's a moral imperative. If you have morals, you are, required to do something. I think that's what I personally think.
There's something else I wanted to say, but it escaped my mind. That happens to me all the time. It's just so much, and it's just so sad. I'm not gonna cry because I've been doing that too much for these people, but it's just sad. And
check your ignorance, check your privilege.
I forgot what I was gonna say. It was important too. Yeah, just
recognize that you might not be part of the problem. And I don't really have anything else to say. Really inspect
Don't
yourself.
inspect yourself, and don't get offended whenever someone says Black Lives Matter, because they do.
Don't get offended when your black friend gets angry over so and so and so. They're probably justified in doing so. Same with all your other friends of color. I could make a person of color video since, I don't know much about the black community, but I know much about the color community.
And I don't really know much either, but I recognize, and here's what I was going to say. Do not use where someone's age or where they grow up or how they were raised as an excuse. Because we grew up in South Carolina, and we all know South Carolina is a very southern state, if you get what I'm saying. We need to recognize that that is not an excuse. Especially it's 2016, we have the internet. Use it to your advantage. We need to educate ourselves.
If someone who grew up in a southern white family, conservative white family, can be making this video, and if someone who grew up being told they are African, not black, and do not act like the former can make this video, then you too can act in such a way that is conducive to the goals that we have talked about in this video, which is uplifting everyone. Next time you see a black person on the side of the street, before you lock your car doors, how about think about the actual probability
and
that
person
is going to shoot you or whatever you were scared about.
And you know what? There's just as much of a chance that if it's a white person that's going to happen. But you know what? It's always the media, and it's everyone, and it's how so ingrained in our system that you think it's just the black people, or if you can really tell it's a low-income white person. It's like, come on, please.
It is just as likely. I really just want you to think. Just think. Just before you act, think. Like, I really don't want to be making people feel like they're kids by saying these simple statements like think. Like, think. Try to understand. Listen. But that's honestly, it's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. And everything, hopefully, will improve someday. But they've been saying that for,
They've been saying that, and people, I know, I've heard a lot of white people, being white myself, obviously, and they say it to me, and I hear it, and I'm like, seriously? They're like, oh, it's getting better. We have a black president. Okay, black people are still getting killed.
And when the 13th Amendment came out, it was getting better. And when the 14th Amendment came out, it was getting better. And when the 15th Amendment came out, it was getting better.
When segregation was ended.
After Malcolm, it was getting better. After Martin, it was getting better. After President Obama, it's supposed to be getting better. And
it's not getting better for black people.
Shot. It's not getting better for black people. It's getting better for y'all, because y'all don't have to see this as often. Y'all don't have to see marches on Birmingham and such. But it's not getting better for black people. Not much, anyways. So yeah, my laptop's about to die, and we are about to sweat our souls out. So just, listen, understand, be empathetic. Don't chase away those who are trying to help you. Don't chase away those who want help.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. Know yourself.
Check your privilege. Realize that this to white people. Recognize that we are privileged. We are privileged. And let's do something about it. Let's go to a rally and throw our support. Let's throw our support, sign petitions, and just something needs to change. People are getting killed, and their killers, black people are getting killed, and their killers are not being brought to justice.
Yeah. So, amongst several other injustices. Amongst several other injustices.
But the real big one that's really been forced into the media spotlight is black people getting killed.
Yeah. So that's it. Have a good day.
Yeah.